The Kaduna state government has confirmed another case of COVID-19 in the state. The Commissioner for Health, Mrs. Amina Baloni, in the statement says the case, which is the 6th in the state, has no connection to the first 5 cases. According to her, the latest case is a male who is a gate man in the Mando area of the state and recently returned to Kaduna from Lagos by public transport and made contact with authorities as his symptoms got worse. She adds that the latest case, who has been evacuated to the state's infectious disease center, presents a nightmare scenario of possible community transmission of COVID-19 in Kaduna state, adding that the state rapid response team is trying to elicit from him a list of contacts so that they can be traced and monitored. Also, following the confirmation of one positive case of COVID-19 in Niger State, the state government has also declared a total lockdown in the state for 2 weeks, beginning from Monday, April the 13th. Governor Abubakar Bello announced this while briefing journalists after an emergency executive meeting at the government house in Minna, the state capital. He said that the index case in the state returned from Lagos to Limawa community in Minna, which will also be on lockdown for the 2 weeks. The governor said all religious gatherings in churches and mosques have been suspended till further notice. The state government had earlier announced that it was relaxing the restriction order in place, but had to rescind the decision because, according to it, the residents failed to take the social distancing order seriously. Governor Bello said the state government is working with local tailors in the state for production of face masks due to the scarcity of the item. He also adds that health workers would also be engaged at strategic points to carry out regular temperature checks. The governor said palliative measures would be provided to the poorest in society and warned politicians not to hijack the items by time they are released. In Lagos, Alimosho local government area is also recording low compliance with the lockdown order, where the public transport system has come to a halt and many have taken to walking, and this, they say, has hampered the operations of the markets, which were permitted to stay open every day between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Our correspondent, Ini John Mekwa, has the rest of the story.
This is what the lockdown looks like in Alimosho local government area in Lagos, the most populated in the state with over 1.2 million people based on the 2006 census. For most of the residents, trekking has become the order of the day since public transportation is not among the essential services permitted to operate at this time. Yet, some are hopeful and wait at bus stops, but after some time, they give up and resort to walking. For them, the need for cash has driven them from their homes. And for some others, it's the need to make cash, even at the risk of defying the stay-at-home order.
As for me, I'm a businessman. In the first place, if I don't have, if my customer didn't give me works and anything, there's nothing to prepare on.
It's fast becoming a norm to see a cluster of vehicles at checkpoints mounted by officers of the police and other agencies who are out to enforce the lockdown. Now here, the officers tell us that most of the vehicles we see here are by individuals who have essential services to deliver, and those who are not in this category are arrested.
And just shortly after we arrive at the checkpoint at Moshalashi area, we notice a commercial vehicle with passengers. Cases like this make the checkpoints necessary in this effort to curb the spread of COVID-19. At Ikotwegbe, it's like business as usual. There's hardly a sign of consciousness of COVID-19.
I don't know much about it.
With comments such as this, it becomes obvious that there's yet a gap for enlightenment on the pandemic, which spreads with no respect for boundaries of social class or race. The busiest part of Alimosho local government area are the markets. In Ilekpo, a major market in the area, there are foodstuffs for purchase, but the traders say it's been difficult operating under the conditions given.
Poor police people, they don't allow us to sell.
We are hungry. We are trekking from one place to another.
With the number of confirmed cases of COVID-19 still on the rise, the government has continued to ask for cooperation and adherence to directive by Nigerians in order to stop the spread and get the country working normally again. Ini John Mekwa, Channels Television News.
Following the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 directive to the Nigerian Immigration Service to step up surveillance on land borders with Cameroon, the service has shut all borders to Cameroonian refugees attempting to cross to the refugee camp in Benue State. Enforcing the directive on Friday, the controller of the Nigerian Immigration Service in Benue State directed officers at the border town of Tegusa to subject any Nigerian coming in from Cameroon to testing and 14 days isolation, while foreigners are not to be allowed into the country for now.
Officials of the Nigerian Immigration Service in Benue State make their way through the difficult terrain to access its border communities with Cameroon. The path is not motorable, so they abandon their vehicles to complete the journey on foot, as the enforcement of the lockdown directive is one that has to be carried out. The first stop is Tegusa, a border community. The state controller and leader of the team delivers the message.
If there is any reason why anybody must come in, then that person must go through that isolation area. And that NCDC will be there to take blood samples. And within 2 days, the result of the sample will be out, whether it is positive or negative.
The team moves to a Bande community where they sensitize residents on their role to ensure the lockdown works.
If we don't start now to sensitize our people, it will be disastrous if it comes to local communities.
We've already made the awareness, we've already made the picture of how we're going to make the whole thing. We're not comparing people to come to the church.
Meanwhile, the Benue State government, through the State Emergency Management Agency, says it has stepped up its awareness campaign at a particular refugee camp where up to 7,000 Cameroonian refugees are being hosted.
A series of sensitization have been made. The communities, they are here in communities. We have from community 1 to 12, and this community have leaders. So when we educate them, they go back to tell their people this is what they have to do.
As though life as refugees in a strange land is not hard enough, these displaced persons now have to work with government officials to ensure new arrivals are not allowed into the camps to check the spread of COVID-19 in the area.
In Ondo, Easter services have been cancelled by the state government as the second case of coronavirus is recorded in the state. A statement by the Commissioner for Information and Orientation says the government is deeply concerned about recording another case and has once again reinforced the need to deepen collective efforts to combat the COVID-19 pandemic. He says the governor has directed the cancellation of the special concession granted churches across the state to celebrate the Easter Sunday service. A decision was taken after consultations with the leadership of the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN. Further steps have been taken to effectively man the boundaries due to reported cases of compromise and breach of the directive to close all interstate entry points into Ondo State.